So I pulled off this quote from Atomic Habits. So here we go. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. So I pulled that quote off of Atomic Habits, and one of the things that I am trying to do here at the beautiful Rise Fitness Gym here in Villa Rica, Georgia, is to establish a good routine in terms of trying to grow my body. And the thing is that I'm not a bodybuilder by no means. I used to want to be one in a way, and by no means is this like sort of like a return or anything like that. In fact, I'm doing more of these videos anyways, just to, like I said, document my life in terms of the things that I feel like are most important to me, physically, mentally, even spiritually. It is one of those things where I feel like it's a boring part of my life just because I am spending so much time here. And a lot of people think that, you know, all fitness content is the same. And I agree in a context, you know, like maybe in a way that like maybe a lot of other people cannot relate to the things that I do or the things that I train for. I feel like it's a major part of my life, and I think that any sort of fitness should be a major part of anyone's life. Why am I here at the gym? Why is this the second video out of the 24, yes, that is part of my goals, 24 videos that I want to make throughout the year? So one of my goals this year is to increase my size in my shoulders and my back, and these have been like the most lagging body parts I've ever had. Funny story, I used to work out at some crazy gym in Mableton, Georgia called Madhouse. And literally, this is one of those crazy unique gyms where you get to meet all walks of life that walk up in there. And you know, you could, and it's literally right next to a Mexican market. So like a lot of Hispanic people will also work out there as well. So you'll not only meet your abuelita or your abuela, you know, or your abuelito in there, but also like you'll see some of the craziest bodybuilders, powerlifters, you name it, they got it. I used to not only train, but also be influenced by these people. You know, of course, I'm a natural person at the end of the day. I don't take any sorts of supplements that like enhance my way. I'm like very basic. I save money by just getting the essentials, pre-workout, protein, creatine. But for me, I wanted to do it naturally. Best advice that I got from a bodybuilder was to grow out my shoulders and grow out my back if I ever wanted to compete. Now, don't mind, like, now with that being said, I don't want to compete. I really feel like I am at a point where I have like this great relationship with my body. I used to have this really, really bad body dysmorphia altogether. And that was something that like plagued my mind, even when I got into my faith, until one day, like I decided to join a track and field team, and I was training for that as I was trying to train the same way that I used to. But I had to come to a decision that ultimately led me to stop training more so for bodybuilding, and I wanted to focus solely on training for javelin and doing track and field events, just in general. And one of the things that I really noticed out of that was that I didn't feel nervous anymore about my body. Like I stopped looking at myself in the mirror, I stopped training for bodybuilding in that way, but I felt a lot healthier. Like I felt like, you know, I felt like I could move more, I could stretch more and whatnot, more flexible. And that gave me a greater sense of appreciation for my body. And then one day I look at myself in the mirror with my shirt off and I'm like, whoa, dude, I have not like lost any size. If anything, I got stronger, you know? And that's, you know, all glory to God at the end of the day, you know, because I was just like, I thought I was gonna be super devastated at the end of the day, but I was like, whoa, like it doesn't really matter, like those gains don't go away. And more or less, I've been kind of like maintaining in that sense of a way. And I don't really feel like that's adding on to my walk with Christ at all. As you're in this relationship with Christ, you're all the other facets of your life also gain a lot of maturity. Not so much more discipline, but a lot more maturity when it comes to it. And in the sense that, like, back then when I was working out 8 years ago, you know, I was all sorts of jacked up in the head. You know, I used to train to gain popularity so people could look at me favorably. Not only that, but my mind was all sorts of wrapped up in lust and whatnot. And in that case, that was something I struggled with, and it sucked, you know? And I really wanted to focus on that as a Christian overall, because I didn't feel like that was necessarily healthy. I realized I wasn't really focusing on my body like I should be. In fact, I got lazy. And I decided to kind of go on a diet just so I can get back on track. And when I'm on a diet, I'm pretty strict with my diet, and I noticed that my faith also grew alongside my diet, and I started fasting as well throughout that diet. And I realized that my faith grew alongside that. And so with that being said, I got off the diet, and I noticed that the foods that I was eating, like, I was starting to let myself go again. And that's not good. And I decided to, like, you know what, like, if I'm going to be serious about this, I'm going to be serious about my growth in my faith, growth in here in the gym, or growth wherever. I need to start really being conscious of the types of goals that I'm setting for myself and the types of things that I'm doing behind the scenes in order to grow. So that being said, I decided to not start like binge eating or whatever the case may be. Instead, if there's fruit in the house, I'm gonna eat the fruit. Or, you know, if I got a PB&J because I'm not really bulking, I'm not really cutting weight anymore, I'm gonna have my little PB&J because I think that's a lot healthier than going ahead and smashing half a bag of, you know, freaking sweet and spicy Doritos, or going out to Taco Bell and getting you a little quesarito. So ultimately, I've decided that if I'm gonna start treating it like my body like a temple, right? It needs to not only have a set foundation, which is Christ, but also like start fortifying the walls around it in order to make sure that, you know, the city that I'm building, this temple that I'm building, is growing, but growing safely. And, you know, I can train here as hard as I can and, you know, maybe bench 315 like the dudes behind me here. But at the end of the day, I won't necessarily grow as much as if I was not taking it seriously. And honestly, that is something that like kind of gets in the back of my head a little bit. And I feel convicted because like I could be doing better. I should be doing better. And so in that case, like I said before, these videos count as accountability, and I want to take myself accountable. So I don't need to prove anything to anyone. However, it'd be a mistake to stay stagnant and not progress in every area of my life. And in order for me to grow, I need to keep pushing myself to be better every day. And I know that fitness is one of those big areas of my life to do that. And it's kind of easy for me to track that progress. So why wouldn't I start here, then let that lead into or creep into every area that I need to get? So yeah, hopefully this video inspires you to make a change in your life that you need. And maybe this is something that you needed to watch in order to get your fitness goals back into track, or maybe just any goal, in any area of your life in order to just be more disciplined. Maybe it's that Bible verse that you haven't been memorizing. Maybe it's that book that you haven't yet read. Maybe it's taking walks outside or going outside to run. Maybe it's time off your phone or whatever the case may be. But set aside some time for it. Like, let's gain more maturity through that process, right? And really push each other to go after these goals throughout this year. So yeah, hopefully you guys are inspired by this video, and maybe you can be pushed to make a better change for your lives. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.